You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We're live here at paceradio.net, 420pace.ca, our YouTube channel, social media locations, and as some people know, they're watching us at our website at paceradio.net. Good evening, Tamara. How are you doing tonight? And you're muted, just so you know.
That's because I was hacking my face off. I'm all right. How are you?
Well, I'm staying cool. We're in some sweltering heat right now. It was close to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And I can tell you right now, it's 68 degrees where I am sitting. So I'm in the good spot.
You're in a dungeon, right? Like you're below ground.
I'm below ground. That's right.
What is it if you walked up above ground? What's the temperature out there today?
Outside it was 32 Celsius earlier. Yeah, wow. But I think it said something like felt like 40. The other day it was like feeling like 43 on the Celsius.
Yeah, because the humidity. It can be like 30 degrees or 32 degrees here, but we don't have the humidity levels like you do. So if it's 32, it's just 32. It's not 32 feels like 40. When it's 40 degrees here, it's fucking 40 degrees here. And that's no humidity either. And it does get that hot here. It's been that hot here the last couple summers, but we've had a monsoon since last Friday, pretty much. We've had nothing but rain, and I'm not complaining because we have been so dry. We probably got enough rain in the last 5 days that we haven't had in the last 5 years. So it's nice and green. There's some snow up on the top of the mountains again. And when I was a kid, there was always snow on the top of those Rockies. Like there was never not snow, and now there's no snow. But because of the precipitation that we've had over the last 5 days, there's snow back up on the mountains because it's at that high elevation. So of course, so that's good to see because our snowpack this year was 33% lower than it was last year, and we were having issues. Where we're talking at drought. Like we're still not above drought levels. Like we've just barely scratched the surface of what this what we need as far as water reservoirs to come back, right, and the snowpack to come back. But that being said, it's been wet and soggy and miserable, and that matches my mood because I've been wet and soggy and miserable for the last week. So,
it's dry and just the weeds are growing, and that's all about the end. We're gonna get some rain, of course, because it's a long weekend, so it's gonna rain this coming weekend and get things wet. So.
Well, it's a May long weekend. We usually get snow out here. So this, it's no different. We'll probably end up with rain too. But yes, we have a guest this week.
Yes, we do. We have a guest this week. And we're going to be talking about gardening. We're going to be talking about growing cannabis and other plants as well. And so why don't we just bring our guest in and we'll have him talk about all that type of stuff. So at this moment, we like to invite our guest. As I mentioned, he's a patient and educator. He's also a business owner. Plus, is a sponsor here in the Pace Radio Network. I could tell you more about him, but
we appreciate the sponsorship so much. Just saying.
Yes. So we'd like to welcome our guest, Pierre Spenard, the owner of Limestone City Hydroponics, to the Pace Radio Show. How you doing, Pierre?
Good, thanks. How are you guys?
All right. Doing okay. How are you doing? You just heard us talking about the heat. You're only an hour and a half east of me, so you're getting that stuff too.
Yeah. You know, at the store we bask in the glory of air conditioning, but here at the house in our late 1800s old house, it's unair conditioned, and on days like today, I'm reminded of we can get it pretty hot here too. Especially when we have folks that I know folks in the India community as well, and talking to them, and it's like, how are you guys finding it? Because normally it's pretty cold. and they were saying, "Yeah, no, this is hot." So folks used to hot are saying this is hot.
Right.
It is hot. Yeah, it's warm. So it's hey, we live in Canada. We either freeze or we get burnt out because it's so warm. Not because
there's been one extreme to the other. Like I was saying, when I was a kid growing up, we always had snow in the mountains out here. And the last, I've been back home here now 11 years, and there's been no snow on the top of the mountains in the summertime at all. And right now we have snow back in the mountains because we've had precipitation. So that, to me, is showing that there is climate change, whether you believe it or don't. That's right there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing enough of it around that. It's definitely different than it was when we were younger.
Yeah. Well, we're about to get into the season and not having to cut the lawn because of it's going to be dry, and they said just cut the weeds.
True. Well,
that's the thing with the rain. Now I got to mow again. It's like a goddamn jungle out there.
Yeah. We're hoping we'll have a little bit of rain to break the heat probably soon.
Right.
Yeah, I was away this weekend. I was doing a gig in Sarnia, and so I didn't end up weed whacking when I came back. And I'm glad I didn't, because of this heat. I think it's helped keep the moisture in.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, that's right.
My lawnmower is a weed whacker. Most of our yard is garden, so there's very little grass.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing, last year out here, I couldn't grow a cucumber if my fucking life depended on it last year. And I've worked at garden centers. I've got a green thumb. I've been growing weed for 30 years. This year, that fucker's growing like crazy. Just unbelievably. And I started it from seed, and I didn't start it super early, right? But it's good. But then my son, I was away for a week, and my lettuce bowl got, and forgot to get water. So when I come home, my lettuce bowl that was so nice and big and beautiful was I rewatered it. Some of it has come back. I got seeds still. I'm just going to throw some more seeds in the bowl. It'll come back. It'll grow. Lettuce grows fast. It's kind of like microgreens. They grow quick. Still haven't gotten weed to pop up. Every seed that I've tried germinating this year, popping into dirt, Rockwell, it's been a dud.
No, really,
We'll just leave it at that.
All right. Let's find out more about Pierre and Limestone City Hydroponics. It's been quite a while since you've been on the program, Pierre. So let's take this opportunity to learn more about Limestone Hydroponics, how it got started, a bit of its history.
Sure. Yeah. So Margaret, who my wife, who wasn't able to make it tonight, apologies, and I purchased the business. We started working with the former owners mid 2021, and we took over January 22, and since then we've done. So we're in the same location. Excuse me. We are. I would say our customer base has changed slightly, where we have, I think, more tropical plant type customers as well, as our cannabis customers, as well as our regular farmers as well, indoor and outdoor farmers. And so that's kind of been a slight shift where we have tents and shelves with house plants, some rare house plants and that sort of thing. So that's fairly new. We still cater to the cannabis market. It's where our passion is. Our product line has reduced, so we've done a SKU reduction since over the last few years, just based on things, mainly nutrients that we find work and people are interested in, and we've done sales on some of the nutrients, just so they're not sitting on the shelves for too long. Load the stuff that's not selling. Same with respect to just the way equipment sales have gone. There's still an interest from people in the HID market. So there's folks mostly needing bulbs off of the traditional, especially 1,000-watt variety, certain coveted brands like Hortilux.
The HPS and
and metal halide, and they're harder to find. Especially the whatever stock is left of what isn't being manufactured.
There's been that much of a switch over to LEDs.
Yeah, huge. Same with CMH. CMH has actually become really scarce as well, both
Oh, really?
mostly in the bulbs, in our region with our suppliers anyway. And we're just finding that there's just some growers that are looking for. We still have stock, thankfully, of all of these,
Yeah.
and our suppliers have had stock where we've gotten some of these things in, but we're just seeing that it's going to be more that the variety there's just less choice available,
Yeah.
less
Yeah.
options available. LEDs have increased in variety and really in quality, where the price point has come down as well. And some of the big brands, like you'll see the price point has come down quite a bit, and it's because they have had to use some level of cost savings in the equipment, but it's still commercial grade stuff. It's still really good, but that's not to say that if you are looking at um, a slightly older model of the same series or the same manufacturer, maybe really great bang for buck right now. If let's say it's because it's not the newest thing, you're going to get probably a better price on it. But in some cases, there's some higher quality components that it costs more. In the driver, for instance. Then that's where some of the cost savings comes in, and then the other cost savings, of course, just over time as the technology matures. There's newer technology, and the older stuff starts to get more mass produced and cheaper.
Correct.
So how we operate today is much the same as we did. I think we spoke roughly 2.5 years ago, two years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just kind of riding the wave, seeing where our competition is. We are finding we are getting more online sales. One note on online sales right now, we've temporarily stopped shipping internationally, and it's not even so much as issues of the tariffs or the border, but our carriers have become less reliable, unfortunately, where we've been having issues, we've been having losses that we aren't recoverable. Like you can't insure any liquids, so liquid nutrients. So you're sending 60 liters of potassium, and they get destroyed. You don't get your money back. You have to send more and hope that it gets there. We've had packages where they say it's been delivered, and then we have multiple carriers that we use. They've said that they've been delivered, and it ends up coming back to the store. It's all been since the tariffs have been announced, so I think there's just been, and I think the postal strike, and the threat of more postal strikes have had, from what we've heard, Canada Post having less, like customers are moving to, because they don't know whether they can count on Canada Post, sadly.
Yeah.
So they're moving to other carriers, and those carriers now, because they've got increased load, there are issues. Not so much within Canada, but as soon as it seems to go over the border or even to Europe, we've had issues with Europe as well.
Yeah.
So for right now, we're waiting.
We got a comment from a fellow by the name of Oren Allen. It says, I have found my best growing. It's really a combination of HPS and LED.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. There's just that nice warm spectrum and heat that the HPS gives to help round out what is otherwise potentially more. It's not necessarily colder light, because with the mix of diodes and more modern LED systems, you really get that true white. But they're very specific frequencies that are targeted, whereas the HPS is kind of more rounded and not as specific, where there's missing frequencies. Essentially, there's no missing frequencies in the HPS, so you're just getting the whole thing, and just the way it's creating the light, I think, is not as hard on the plant. The one thing I noticed moving from HPS to LEDs, Lurple hating it, moving to CMH, and then from CMH to LEDs, I actually had to do some adjustments back. Loved it CMH. I'm liking I'm using slightly less power now. For my cannabis, I'm running on average 110 watts per plant, which is pretty low, and I'm very happy with the results.
They're good.
I've had
That's the main thing.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, yield and quality. But I've had to implement and add UV, supplemental UV, to it. There wasn't enough coming from the LEDs compared to what
Yeah,
I was.
the LED just doesn't give you that density. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't give that hardness, right? You need that extra kick. I found that with just using straight LED myself because I don't have the power. I live in a house with 60 amp power, so I've had no choice but to use LED. And even a 400 watt will kick my breaker, and it's not enough, but it's enough to give the heat to bring the bugs. So I've taken, like there was just no option. So I've had no luck with that.
So
With them.
try supplementing UV, like LED UV. That's really made a difference. And then I actually use more potassium now than I used to. I also use more CalMag than I used to. I had never had. I think there's something about the light that the plant uses more energy. I'm not sure.
Can I use Remo's Nutrients, a full system of Remo's Nutrients. So I've got the kelp and stuff to add to it. So I haven't found that it's a nutrient base. It's basically because it's not getting that spectrum, right? It's just not getting that enough oomph. And to be fair, I'm not using really great lights, and they're just Amazon crap. So
That could be it. Yeah, that could be.
and so
Purple
they're
ones.
not saying
Those purple lights.
Oh, yeah.
no, they're not purple. This one's got spectrum red, blue, and I've got two different ones.
Yeah,
So it's got the red spectrums, and then it's got the flower spectrums on them. So it's got the red and the blue, and then the orange, and it's got the full spectrum on the one set too. And they're just, like I said, two crappy little boxes. But I've grown some pretty nice plants with them, just not the hard dense that I would have had if I would have used my metal halides, right?
Yeah, if you get the more modern ones that have like the white diodes and the yellow diodes, like predominantly white and yellow diodes, they're a lot better. But what you're describing sounds more like what I had was the blurple, which you had like the veg in the growth stage.
Yeah.
And I was very disappointed. Same issue. No matter what I did, and that's why I moved back to CMH, and now I'm going with the full spectrum.
Right. And I did it like I did the one time in a tent too, thinking that if I brought the spectrum into a closer base, because usually it's a spectrum area, I thought if I had the two LED lights in that tent, which was smaller area for it to cover, that it would actually boost them, so they would get harder because they get denser, just because it was a smaller area for the spectrum. It didn't make any difference either. So
yeah, even getting close, you don't want to get them too close to the light because then you're just getting burned.
Well, no, they were never. It was never hot enough. Like those LEDs, you could have put the plant right up against the LED. It would have never burnt the light ever. Right. There was just no heat to them at all. Zero. Yeah. But no, like I'm talking about like that way. I'm talking like just the difference, like in a bigger room for spectrum for the light area. I put them in the tent. It didn't give them that much area for spectrum, right? It would just bring it all around. Mm-hmm. Trying to get them to grow more. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I've tried all kinds of different things since I moved here. Before, when I was growing 200 plants, I had my setup in a coronation. I didn't have any issues.
Good.
I know what you mean by the loss of heat going from the HPS to the LEDs, because I've always had cool spots to grow, and when I switched over to the LEDs, it was there's no heat source. Yeah, it was colder. So
you got to raise the pots.
Just say hi to Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn. And then with LEDs now, difference what I noticed when I switched over is it talked about this vapor as well. Something to do with the amount of vapor that's in the room. I haven't worried about it. I've just gone ahead and just kept on growing. But some people really.
What do you mean vapor? What are you talking about vapor?
I think it's the humidity, the amount of humidity that's in the room, Pierre.
Yeah. So there's like, if you've ever heard of the VPD.
Yeah, that's it right there. Exactly.
VPD. So you're basically measuring the humidity of the room as well as the humidity and temperature of the leaf.
Right.
And then you're measuring the light as well. And there's like a sweet spot in different parts of your grow. That help. And with HPS, different humidity, completely different humidity control or lack thereof when you're going to LED because you lack the heat. I've had to supplement a little more CalMag, a little more potassium at the end. I do use, this is kind of a new thing, and I'm not sure how much or how little this contributed other than the plants have been doing great. I've been trying to grow, I've been successfully growing reishi mushrooms in and contained in bags. So we get mushroom kits
Right.
from a local producer in Kingston by the name of Top Cap Fungi, and it's a really good product. So we get like frozen blocks of ready to go, like blue oyster, pink oyster, lion's mane.
These are spores. These would be the spores.
They've
Right,
been
they couldn't block though, right?
Yeah, it's a pre-inoculated block, so it
Yeah.
has spores and everything ready to go. It's frozen, so all you do is you thaw it, and then in 7 days you have mushrooms growing out of these things.
And these are non
Non-psychedelic.
Correct.
no psilocybin.
Fun ones.
No,
Right.
like oysters and lobster and lion's mane and just like good mushrooms, just not psychedelic.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
have other benefits, medicinal benefits. Like the
Yep,
lion's mane
they do.
helps repair damaged brain cells and that sort of thing. Rebuilds connections, according to studies. And so and there's others like chaga. There are lots of different benefits. Reishi is one of them. The reason why I chose reishi is because it's ultra slow, especially when you deprave it of oxygen. So one thing I don't want in my grow room is when you're growing mushrooms, you have to give them oxygen when you open them up. That's when they start to spore. And in a contained space, you could have an overabundance of spores, and you don't want mushrooms growing where you don't want them to be. Mildew. So the reishi mushroom grows so slowly; it grows over 2 to 3 months into this big antler like thing, like mushroom, beautiful looking. But by keeping it in the bag, I'm not releasing spores, but the bag still breathes itself. And then there's also a little pad nipple that was used to originally inoculate it that breathes. And so the CO2 production, these bags are fully inflated, and it seems to just be, I have one mushroom bag per plant, and that seems to be aiding in increasing a little bit of CO2 in that room.
So obviously growing mushrooms is different than growing cannabis and other vegetables, right? So for those who are out there wondering who's never grown mushrooms, what all do you got to go through?
So in our case, I'm dealing with blocks, and I'll explain a little bit more. So basically, there are blocks that you can get inert substrate. Like we even sell those as well. That typically it's a mixture of different substrates. A lot of times it's a barley hull, sometimes rice hull. The Top Cap uses a combination of soybean hull, hardwood sawdust, and a few other natural amendments to kind of grow them. And so what we get is a ready to go block that only takes about a week to grow your mushrooms, and you're going and you get
you can buy them in kits.
2 to 3 flushes out of it. So you'll take about 2 pounds or 3 pounds, and then it'll go dormant, and then it'll come back the next week, and you'll get it again. We actually just harvested some black oyster at the store, so we're actually making soup tonight.
So like you don't need to grow these in some dark closet or anything like that. You can just
right on.
Well, they should be like, you don't want them sitting in the direct sunlight. Like you want to put them in a cupboard or somewhere where they're like in a dark, cool area. You don't want to put them in your dining room window by any stretch of the mushroom, right?
But you can put them out. Like they do need a little bit of light. That's how they know where up is. But we just have them like in the store under regular lights.
In the store.
They just or like I said, in my basement, it's under grow lights 12 hours a day in my flower room. And they do really well. There's a whole process to kind of get the block ready to inoculate. You have to get the actual, which we get those as well. We have the syringes that have just like
maybe that's where I made a mistake, because we were told when I was working at the garden center to put them in a dark closet.
It maybe depends on the variety. So with the ones that we get, the oyster mushrooms, the shiitake,
They were shiitakes,
but there's probably there's other ones that would, like certain varieties of psilocybin do prefer darkness, and
okay.
So it depends on
So it depends on each month. Okay, that's good information. I didn't know that.
So do you have to? So do you have a nutrient regime that you would have to do with mushrooms like you do with cannabis?
With the
Give
blocks,
water.
no, thankfully there is like a process of adding some nutrients at the very beginning, and it's dependent on the mushroom strain. Different mushrooms are slightly hungry for different things. Like the reishi is a completely different um, because it takes months and months. You have a different base than this faster growing pinot or the oyster mushrooms. The one thing that we did this year for the first time is so we stockpiled um, spent mushroom blocks, and we asked the supplier when he was done harvesting, because he supplies other like restaurants and that sort of thing, and we asked them for his spent mushroom blocks. And what we did is we lined it up in our back area where we normally put compost. And so not only throughout, because it's shaded, we started getting fourth and fifth flushes from these mushroom blocks throughout the summer. We did this year was we mulched it rototilled it into our gardens, and it's really fascinating in some cases to see mushrooms growing where like, oh, weren't expecting mushrooms to grow from there. But we even have corn growing out of mycelium that's kind of come out as just pure white that kind of turns brown in the sun. And where the corn is coming out, the corn is bigger and stockier than in the areas where it's not directly touching the mycelium. So it seems to be adding some level of nitrogen to the ground. The probably the natural mycelium as well, and it works with the mycorrhizae that's there. And so
Corn loves nitrogen.
yes, exactly. Yeah, they're very hungry.
It loves nitrogen, just loves it. That's why it grows so good in Tabor, Alberta, because it's just nitrogen.
I assume,
or two now actually. Rabbit took one. I had rototilled, so when I sometimes when I'm cycling through my cloner, just trying to keep things small and manageable while I'm flowering, I'll put the root ball out in the back. But in the spring, because I know I'm about to rototill, I don't bury anything. I just kind of throw it on the ground on top. And we had a weird spring where after I rototilled everything at the very back of the property, there were actually 3 that came up out of where the mushroom compost is. One of them has since been stolen this week by a rabbit or something. So I've got 2. Yeah, but they're just doing their thing, and I'm like, wow, they survived all that.
As long as the rabbit leaves fertilizer behind, it's doing its part.
True, and yes, it is definitely the neighbor's dog.
It's a trade.
Yeah,
it's a trade. Now, I assume mushrooms be like cannabis, where you would have different amounts of time, depending on the mushroom, as far as when it's ready, like from it's ready to be harvested.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like the reishi is months, whereas the oysters are weeks. Some of them are more voracious than others. A little like will come back faster. Like so far from what I've seen of all of them, the black oyster seems to be the most adaptable to different climates.
Mm-hmm.
You can actually even take direct sun, and just seems to grow the most based on this particular batch and the way this grower, like producer, does it. They're really good. They're really high quality. We're really happy with his products. We also sell dried powders and dried mushrooms as well. So if you want some lion's mane, we'll do that like in a tea. I'll put some dried lion's mane in my tea and just kind of sip on it.
Yeah, because you're legally allowed to grow them, right?
Yes. Oh yeah.
And they grow wild too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no, and the ones that we sell, there's no, other than the basic medicinal benefits, there's no psychedelic high to them, essentially.
Yeah. So, well, At-Eze are one of our other sponsors. They have a mushroom business for health supplements and things, and it's just packed full of stuff, all different kinds of mushrooms.
No doubt, yeah. We're only dabbling in what is otherwise a really huge, it's a really huge new market that's out there. So we're kind of learning as we go as well with it.
A lot of people are interested, and the thing is too with the mushrooms, I can get these really cool, like growing systems. It almost looks like an aquarium, right? Yeah. Where you put them in, And then and you can watch them grow, and it's got the specific light and the specific humidity levels and stuff for them. I mean, they're not cheap, like $300 and $400 for these little glass boxes that you can watch mushrooms growing. And it comes like you have to buy the kit separate for the mushrooms, but it's quite something. Yeah.
Yeah, little ecosystems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing like the way the bugs behave in the backyard with the respawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And just like watching it, like almost like the old aquariums when you were a kid. You get a big jar and you go to the forest and you get a bunch of moss and a bunch of little ferns and stuff and bugs, and you put it there and you close it up. I still like doing that, but nothing ever seems to live that long.
Yeah, it gets too hot, or
right? Yeah, there's just no way of even that air circulation, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I see it's break time. Bottom of the hour. Time for us to take a break. And when we get back, we'll continue our discussion with Pierre here, and we'll find out some more about mushrooms, cannabis, as well as whatever vegetables you may be growing this summer. Now that you're watching the Pace Radio Show. We're live here at paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, you're live with the Pace Radio Show, and we are here with our guest, Pierre Spenard, the owner of Limestone City Hydroponics, and a sponsor here on the Pace Radio Network. Before the break, we were talking about mushrooms and regular mushrooms, lion's mane, and other types of mushrooms and stuff. How long it takes to grow. Now, as far as it sounds like you got this bag, it's about, so you don't need to set up a big room. You don't need to have any big ventilation or anything like that.
Well, so I guess without being misleading, so for the pre-inoculated blocks, yeah, like you can put them in a tray on a plate and spawn them in your kitchen.
Nice.
Again, there's a process of keeping the bag hole small, and you're kind of spraying some water to keep it moist usually every day, just a little bit, and that will generally keep the spawning down, like the spores down. You don't want to necessarily open the whole thing up and let spores around everywhere. And it's mostly because of old homes like ours have a lot of old wood. And like, for instance, in my basement, there'd be a lot of open wood. And so those spores are strong enough to be able to start taking hold in your house and start growing out.
Oh, wow.
So you have to be kind of careful to not go too far with it. Like in my case, like because I've got more than just a couple going at once or more than one going at once in the basement, that would be a lot of spores going at once if you were letting them all go. And so usually when you're getting into multiple blocks, you're wanting to get into farming, mushroom farming, you're starting typically with like a grow tent. And that's to start keeping your spores inside. And then you're dealing with you want intake fans and outtake fans that allow you to use filtration to keep the spores in.
Yeah, I was gonna say cut down the spores. Okay, so you can get into all that the same as.
So a lot of people too, like mention, like you can use an old fish tank, like because that kind of keep them kind of contained, right?
Yeah, and we've even got mushroom kit boxes, so that are they're like a tote that have holes in them that are ready to go with both filters and fans.
Right. That sounds good.
Yeah, to grow smaller, shorter varieties of mushrooms.
So you can you can get the kits for like money's mushrooms and that type of things too as well, right?
Yeah. Or if you're doing your own inoculants, we have the base substrate. We mostly carry just like the pre-grown, the regular, ready to go blocks, as well as some of the syringes of the.
Well, to be fair, those blocks and stuff are far easier than somebody having to deal with, the founds and everything else. Especially like a lot of people just want them for the salads over the summer. So to be able to put it on your counter, or you're making, with your little herb garden and stuff in your kitchen on your apartment shelf, like that's the ideal thing for those boxes, right?
Yeah, and things that really help kind of keep other contaminants at bay. So it's good if, let's say, you're worried about spores and whatnot. You can spray, just have like a peroxide water mix, like a teaspoon of peroxide to a liter of water is enough to just kind of kill the spores that might be around. You spray around.
But those blocks do have to be sprayed like pretty much every day to keep the moisture, because if you don't keep the moisture within that bag plastic container that they're kind of contained in, they will dry up and die.
Especially in the wintertime.
I learned my lesson, trust me.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I haven't got any stories to share because I haven't tried to grow any.
I tried growing shiitake mushrooms, but they came like in a brown box. They were from a local grower here, I think in the Nelson area. They came in, they were supposed to be frozen, right? But of course they didn't thaw on the trucks. So by the time we got them in the store and you actually bought them, sometimes they were already growing mushrooms within the box. So by the time I got mine home, it already had mushrooms growing out of it, but it hadn't been watered because it was in the box on the shelf in the store.
Right.
They need to be, if they've had any moisture, if they've been unthawed, then of course they've got moisture to start kicking the spores within that block, right? So it was kind of a disappointment. It was kind of like, and only because, like I said, of no fault of the consumer, but because they're frozen and not sent in for, like they're not kept frozen. And even when we got them in the store, they weren't kept in our refrigerator. They were kept on the shelf. So if they had any water at all that got into any of that blockage, the spores started, because all it takes is a drop of water to get that thing kicking, right?
Yeah, we've had that too. We had the box variety. We had some that we had to just, okay, we're bringing this one home. We're buying this one and bringing this one home.
Yeah, because they were already started. What do you do? And that's the thing. Like I didn't know that. I just bought it off the shelf from work one day, brought it home and opened it up. And meanwhile, it's got mushrooms already growing. And I'm thinking, okay. So then I did, followed the instructions, sprayed it, whatever, put it on a plate in the, on the cupboard and stuff. And I got 3 mushrooms off it. Then it just stopped, and I never got another mushroom off of it.
Yeah, we've had some folks. We've been shiitake in particular can be a little temperamental. Or especially prone to the trichoderma, the blue-green mold, which is really bad. You see that on your mushroom block, just turf your mushroom block.
Yeah.
It likes the same conditions the mushrooms do. So that's where having the peroxide even before, if you're doing your inoculation one, I'm just making sure that you're ultra sterile. Is really good. Whereas again, the mushroom blocks, we don't do anything special. Even again in the store, we just follow the directions, open them up, spray them, and boom, magical mushrooms. Not magic mushrooms, but
Yeah.
magic of
Well, I mean, that's a thought of thing that people are. A little bit of peroxide in your water helps most plants, like just a little bit, right? Like peroxide water and touch of dish soap, like it's just like it's almost like a instant pesticide. Peroxide just kind of gives that on everything. Like that's one I think people are afraid of it. Not like you don't want to put too much, but I mean, again, it's like a magical like bug killer, pesticide, a fungal killer, like. And the dish soap kind of like kills the larva in the dirt. I don't know. We weren't supposed to give those home remedies in the garden center because we weren't supposed to. We were supposed to sell pesticides.
Right. Yeah. Well, what we highly advocate peroxide, just even flow days.
Right.
Which people still do. I used to. I'm now DWC, but I don't use peroxide in there now. I'm using hypochlorous acid. Works in the same way, very, very low concentration. We do sell the food grade or technical grade peroxide at the store. It's 29%. But I'll even when we're doing transplants of roots or plants like house plants and that sort of thing, if we see that there's something that we've gotten that has a little unhappy, or it's been stored, it was grown in that green formaldehyde kind of foamy stuff. Death block. We kind of try to pull all that out as much as possible, and usually there's brown, unhappy orange roots in there, and we'll use peroxide. Usually I'll use the 29% at like 2 to 3 mils per liter, just to clean them off, and it just works great. And
the greenhouses out here all grow in peat moss, which is a mixture. It's almost like a mixture of peat moss and cocoa fiber, which is great for starter plants. But I mean, you want to transplant them into some soil immediately, and if people don't realize that, they end up with a dead plant.
Yeah, because it dries out so fast and doesn't have food. There's just no nutrients.
Yeah, because there's no nutrients in it, right? Yeah. But a lot of people, but I mean, and nobody tells people that. And then they take them home and then they wonder why their plant's dead, but they don't want you to have that plant to live. They want you to buy another one.
Right. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, we're not like that. No,
I know you're not, but I'm not talking about even the place that I work for. But I'm talking about like the greenhouses, like the greenhouses on Burnaby and stuff. That's what they grow, and they send the plants out to all the, greenhouses in British Columbia, and then you end up with all this stuff that's just peat moss and cocoa fiber, and people don't realize, wonder why their plants are all dying, because nobody tells them it's not soil.
Yeah.
Any other tips on mushrooms before I move on to cannabis?
That they're really good and good for you. And if you like mushrooms, that like we're having now, I can't wait. We're gonna have steak later, and it'll be including some black oyster mushrooms. So,
I'm just never been a fan of mushrooms.
And where I live right now, I'm gonna throw. I don't think you can grow these in domestically, but we've had forest fires. Everybody's out here picking morels like crazy. And I don't know if you can grow morels domestically in a sport kit. I don't know if you can get them. I've never seen them
yet. It might be due to difficulty, but I'll ask about morels because it's a good question. Yeah.
And they're like ridiculous, like $40 a pound.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll ask.
And they don't taste good either. They're not good. They're kind of gross.
That might be why not many people are growing them.
I just see the big white puff balls on.
They're a real delicacy, I guess. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I've had them once, and they were like not good. Like I love mushrooms, but I didn't like those ones. Anyways.
Mm-hmm. Our last property, we used to get humongous puff balls, like just humongous ones.
Yeah,
and, I'm not a big fan of those though. Honestly, they're okay when they're got lots of butter and garlic, but it gets old. Like a big puff ball like that, we need a lot of people eating that.
Yeah,
I'm having a slice. That's it.
Now, so moving from mushrooms over to cannabis.
Yes.
One of the services that you offer at Limestone City Hydroponics is the fact that you have access to help patients with access to medical cannabis.
Yeah, that's probably one of the highlights. Actually, probably the topmost of mine. So we work with an agency that is a doctor, and there's a lot of folks that don't have family doctors. Especially in this region in Ontario, it's really, there's a really high number of people, or those who do, but maybe don't have, just don't have a yearly, because the process is an annual process. It's an arduous process. They'll change.
I have a
the
doctor
address.
that just outright refuses to help you because the fact that their college of physicians is actively blocking, like in Alberta, which has been happening for decades, because that's happening too. Doctors like mine said, you don't need a prescription. You can go to the store and get 30 grams a day. Why would I give you the prescription for 20? Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's because you can't afford. Nobody can afford to spend that much money at those prices, that much medicine at once. And that's why the licensing is available for people to be able to grow their own medicine and have it be affordable and be controlled in a way that what you're intaking, what strain you have, what you fed it, what you haven't fed it, what you haven't put on it, versus what you.
And as we know, a producer can stop producing that strain that you find that works for you. Like I'm still growing a strain that I've been growing for 15 years now. There's no way I'd be able to do that through a licensed producer.
No, because they're changing it up too. So they may even lose the strain. They just like, we got these now. These are the new.
They roll it out and then they decide that they don't want to grow it anymore and they just toss it. They don't even keep it. They don't even keep a genetics from it.
Yeah.
So that strain is then lost completely, maybe, unless they take like a microfiche of it or keep it on file like through like a biolog. Like they have those microfiching now that they can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the good, but then you still have to have a clean old plant with the original genetics, and that's getting harder and harder to find. Those people literally going into their archives. I remember these seeds that I had from the 90s, and that's what they're germinating. So it's kind of like once those are all gone, there's a different world.
And mine aren't popping.
Or that,
And mine aren't growing. Like I've been trying to grow seeds that I got from 2012 from people, and they're not growing. Like
so things that I've done that help. RO water helps. Definitely filtered water, but RO water helps. I like to use any sort of like root and head, like a B1, just a light amount of
I've got some of that too. I've got some of that.
Velo kelp is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Any sort of root rage-y type things, the root accelerator, that have those extra enzymes that help crack the seed earlier.
Seed though, because this is all seed. I don't have any clones right now. I can't get my hands on any decent clones anywhere.
I'm thinking seeds. Yeah. Because it'll help.
That's the thing. These are seeds from like that I can't pop them. They won't pop. And I've got some of that seed enhancer stuff that you shake them in a bag from when I worked at the garden center. I never thought to put them in that. But I've also, what's that? Yeah, I know. If you can pop those and I can't, I'm just gonna like cut my head off. Because I sent out some of the seeds too, right? And these are from like a really like a grower that we met like in 2012 that is no longer with us. Right?
He's passed on.
And I cannot get them to grow.
Just so you know, thanks for the love, Dave. Thanks for the love. Now back to the clinic. You mentioned so it's a doctor that you have at the clinic, or is it a nurse practitioner?
There's a doctor overseeing nurse practitioners. So there's multiple nurse practitioners. They're actually under new management now. They have different offices in Toronto. The folks that we talk to mostly are in Toronto. There's folks in Ottawa, folks in Montreal, and they have new rates now. Group rates. The rates are actually less expensive, which is really good. So basically what we do is there's a questionnaire that we give. We don't keep any personal information, but we give the patient a questionnaire that they fill out. They have a consultation with the private consultation with the nurse practitioner, who then evaluates either whether you're renewing your license this year because it's an annual thing, or whether this is your first time. And then they'll go through the series of questions, see whether you qualify for medicinal, using cannabis for medicinal use, whether there's any risks there. They'll let you know if they think there's any risks there for, opioid addiction and that sort of thing. That there is part of that in the interview, but not so much in that I should, maybe I misplayed. That's a concern. They will only start going down that route if, depending on the way you've answered your questions, that that they need to find out more and make sure that, because they also have, I know that they prescribe cannabis for recovering addicts.
Good.
So
good, because Tamara is involved in the cannabis substitution program. So
I run a substitution program, and I firmly believe that cannabis is a gateway out. And I'd like to see more people pick that up, but I wish the government would give me a grant so I could actually continue doing it, because right now we're sitting here with nothing. Like, we've got no fundraising going. Like, I've got no funds. I got no, like, I'm stagnant right now. And I need, like I said, it's hard to fundraise. And if the government would just give me a grant, which they should be, just like everything else. But
because there is proof of that. There is proof. So it's good to see that they are supportive.
Acknowledging,
exactly.
And so, and that this is without me knowing, getting any personal information. It would be from people sharing their experience and sharing their experience. So we don't keep any personal information. Margaret
involved in the meetings,
because she administrates it. She basically is general manager at the store as well. So
right. So the patients, they can either get signed to go to a licensed producer, or they can produce their own cannabis.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And they just need consent, signed consent. So once they receive their prescription from the doctor, there's a second form that has to be filled out, that goes to Health Canada, and you include your prescription with that second form. And on that second form, if, let's say, you're not growing at your own residence, and you're having a third party's farm, let's say, that's doing it for you, you just need their signature saying that they consent on their farm, their property.
They're the landowner.
Exactly, landowner. And something that folks should be aware of, because now that it is legal as well, there's, when you're as a mortgage holder, be aware that when you go to renew your mortgage, if you have, because legalization has been kind of recent, and so some banks in Canada aren't set up yet to deal with legal grows.
Even after all these years,
you would think, even commercial, or we've had conversations with people who've had nightmares. But basically, at the end of the day, you need an insurance company that basically says, you tell them, yes, I'm going to be growing legally. I have a license to do it, and do you endorse that? And then basically, if you have the right insurance company, they will allow you to do that, and they will underwrite you based on that being, a risk. Like in my case, that risk doesn't seem to be affecting my rate, but there is an added check box that there's risk there, because there's still the whole stigma of all the humidity issues where, basically people would just come into a house, not give a shit.
They still look at patients who are growing a bunch of plants as the guys that smash holes in walls and in houses and destroy them, right?
Yeah, but they seem to forget that these are our houses, right? These are our houses. These are our homes. Why would we want to destroy the places that we live in? We just want to be able to grow our own medicine and be sustainable and not wreck the home we live in. We're already disabled and we already got health issues. Why would we want to bring more health issues into our home? Like, it makes absolutely no sense if you actually think about it.
Yeah, and especially just any, if you're buying and doing any bit of research whatsoever online, where you ask store owners and whatnot, store owners and whatnot, they will know that you need ventilation, you need all these things just to keep the plant's health up, and by virtue of keeping the plant's health up, well, your house is going to be okay too, because is generally pretty happy.
It's no different than having a fish tank.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jennifer says exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, I'm
Yeah.
running like a fish tank in my house. I've got house plants in my house. I've got like, so what's the difference? The humidity levels are up with that fish tank and the house plants. There's not much difference, to be
I
honest.
know people who got pools.
Yeah.
And
I have less
Gotcha.
humidity in my grow than the rest of the house in the spring and summer. Like right now, I don't know what the humidity is in the house, but it's sky high. And I know that I've got humidity control in my basement.
Right.
Where they're worried about it, but they weren't worried about it. So
during our news broadcasts, we've had some stories where some patients have run into problems with insurance companies, and other patients haven't, because they can't go against you completely about growing cannabis because you're legally allowed to grow cannabis, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and everybody's allowed 4 plants.
Yeah,
whether you're growing them indoors or outdoors.
Yeah, and that's really
I don't think that was one thing the government configured into their legalization is that insurance companies were going to block insurance people's houses.
It would seem so far, but from what I've heard, it would seem that the larger banks are more set up or more prepared and set up for it than smaller financial companies, especially those that might have U.S. investors. And that U.S. investment tends to be what is the limiting factor for those banks.
Yeah.
So basically, fear of liability, of the destruction of their asset at the end of the day when it's a mortgage. It's not yours. It's
If they're going to mortgage, it's their asset, right?
Yeah, exactly. So so basically, as long as my case, I'm lucky, and I'm not lucky. Just I did my due diligence to ensure that I wasn't going to be surprised. And the bank I deal with, my mortgaging company, was as long as your insurance company says it's okay and we get that in writing, we're good. So that's just kind of dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah. So now, the patient comes to you guys. They've had their interview with the nurse practitioner, filled out all the paperwork and all that stuff. They send it into Health Canada. What's the do you know how often you hear feedback from your patients? How long it normally is taking them to get their license? Because I know it's been waiting months.
Literally that. And sometimes things happen, so it depends on whether they send it back to you. So there was a recent address change that some Canada Post office people, I don't know, for some reason, some deliveries, some carriers are sending them back. And so because there's a new address that you have to use, so there's a new form. We give you the latest form.
Yeah, I found that out. When they sent mine back and said, "Oh, we've updated the form. Here's the new one."
Yeah, and here's the new
address. And then I had to reapply. Right?
Yep.
So I sent that back in March. I called them a week and a half ago to say, "Hey, what's going on?" And they said, "Oh, it's being mailed out today." Well, I still haven't received it. I still haven't received it in a week and a half.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, and it's also said that there's a big backup with Canada Post now too.
I wouldn't. That's what I figured. That's where the problem is the Canada Post end of things. But they told me it's been issued.
Yeah, we've had people get their license within about a week and a half.
Wow.
It's been months, like months and months.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why. Sometimes they send it back to you because there's an issue, but usually, I would say on average, it's 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. It's only been 2 weeks.
I started the process. I started the process in January. They sent it back to me in the middle of February when I was expecting the license to show up, and then so I filled it right back out again, and got it back in the mail the next day. So I'm going to say basically the 1st of March they would have received it by then, and so March, April, May, we're into June.
Yeah, high anxiety process for people who are trying to, keep from having anxiety. Other issues. It's frustrating. That's why we're doing it. It's sometimes effort. Like a lot of effort, in that folks with anxiety or other issues are really stressed about the process, especially when it doesn't go smoothly, and it's complex, right? And then we're told, tell our patients that when you have the prescription, technically you're covered. If you've got that prescription, you're technically covered legally. But it's still not that license, and it's still nerve-wracking until you get that piece of paper. And then by the time you get that piece of paper, you're like, oh, I just got this piece of paper, but I got to apply again. I got to do
exactly.
again, and it's just crazy. But
that's why I gave up and don't bother.
Yeah.
I just couldn't be bothered. Like, I was never one big on it. Like, I was more about law reform when I started in this whole thing. And I never wanted the dog tag to go along with the fact that I had to have a tagged license to say that I was legally, able to use cannabis as medicine, right? I just always thought, and then having to renew every year like a fucking dog. Like, that's why I just don't bother. I grow 4 plants and whatever. And if I don't have plants, whatever, I just don't, because I'm just sick of it. I'm just up to here done with playing the game.
It's a lot of
and I think that's where a lot of patients are. Where they're fed up, they don't care, they just go and just that's.
Yeah. All right, it's break time.
Oh, okay.
It's the top of the hour. Time for us to take a break, pay some bills, and when we get back, Tamara and I will continue our discussion with Pierre Spenard, owner of Limestone City Hydroponics. We'll be right back in, let's see, about 3 minutes.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back to the Pace Radio Show. We are live and we're talking with our sponsor, Pierre Spenard of Limestone City Hydroponics. Pierre, before the break, we were talking about the medical clinic, and there was one other thing I wanted to touch on that, and sure enough, I forgot what it was over break. But
there's something I wanted to touch on. Oh, unless you got it? You got it? Because there was something I wanted to touch on too. And again, it has to do with you saw the slide that was talking about the general process, the service, and the rates. So the rates are totally different now. And they're based on the amount of like in grouping in blocks. So it's like 1 to 5, 6 to 10 grams, and then 15 plus. And that's what I wanted to mention is our health practitioners will not authorize anything above 24 grams. And this has to do with some of the new regulations instituted this year, at least for them, what they've communicated back to us, and so they can't authorize anything more than that. Right. But otherwise, it's still the same process as it has been. So those who have gone through the process, still the same process. It's just a little less expensive now, and we try to make it as we try to inform and make people at ease with the process too, especially with the last step, because the last thing you want is you're spending this money. We will help with as far as if there's questions about the form and whatnot. We're not going to fill out the form for anyone, but as far as they have questions about making sure, we'll go through and make sure if they authorize us to, we'll go through and make sure they didn't miss any of the basic information. Ultimately, the prescription is the document. It's a separate document anyway that has all the information. The main application is really just your MCR number if you've got one already, and then where you're growing and who's authorized that.
Now, for somebody who's coming to the clinic for the first time, do they need to bring their medical records from a past doctor that they may have,
all they would need, so if they have an MCR number already, like if they've already been previously prescribed, right. Even if their license has expired, they're still assigned that number. They just need that and their health card, as well as another piece of ID, photo ID that the probably driver's license typically is used, and that's for the nurse practitioner just to verify that it's you in the video conference. So you'll have a video conference call right. with the nurse practitioner, and generally it's done in a single appointment, and if they authorize you, they usually send the secure PDF of the prescription by email the following week, and then we will provide that with the form that you need to fill out, and then if they have any questions at that point, we'll help them with that.
Yeah, if you've already got your license, it's just a renewal. You don't need any documentation. But if you're a new person signing up, you've never had your license before, you have to bring in some type of document showing your.
Yeah, depending on what the issues might be that you're treating, because ultimately you're identifying cannabis as a medication that you'll be taking to treat these issues or an issue. Any supporting documentation you have to prove that is really helpful. We won't look at that, so just have it ready for when you're talking to the doctor, and then they may have a way of requiring us. So it might be that they'll ask us to scan the document and then send it to them.
Right. I didn't know whether things had been updated and whether these clinics would have, being that if you're using your health card, right, which is whether that would give them some type of access to seeing what your health record was, but.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't. It's just more or less they use the health card to prove that it's you with the information, and that there's no other flags that come up on your card or that number.
All right, growing green cannabis. Let's shift over to microgreens.
Yeah,
I know that you guys have plenty of microgreen seeds in the store.
We do. We primarily get mum seeds. We've been starting to get some of the larger packs, variety packs. The more popular ones like broccoli is especially popular. So we'll get the 5 kilogram bags. We'll do special order of the 25 kilogram as well, or 15 kilograms. Sorry, I can't remember how big they get. they're a little bit bigger.
I'm just used to the little small bags.
Yeah. So they have a medium, and they have an extra large bag that we.
I got the extra large bags. I got the sprouting jars.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, I don't have any jars.
Not successful. Not successful.
Really?
Oh, really? Oh, I had great success. Margaret told me how to do it. And gave me
With
some
the sprouting
videos to
jars,
watch.
with the jars, or with the mat?
I've done it in a hemp mat, and I've done it just in Pro Mix as well.
Yeah, see, and I can do it with dirt, no problem. I got watercress growing like crazy right now outside in the dirt.
Yeah.
But them jars, because you have to like be on them, like you have to rinse them like so many times a day, and if you leave them too long, they mold. And
Yeah, it's the
I had no
humidity.
luck with them.
Keeping the humidity up. Though I would also cheat with a little peroxide and water.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a good tip. And then keeping them in the refrigerator is another tip.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and the thing with the peroxide
refrigerator.
too that folks don't realize is that extra molecule of oxygen, roots love it. The leaves don't so much. You can burn the leaves with too much, but it still works for powdery mildew if you have a coating on it. It doesn't get rid of the powdery mildew. Once your plant has powdery mildew, it's got it for life, and you're going to be fighting it to the end. And don't get clones from it. Do not share your powdery mildew plants with your friends or anyone.
No.
Yeah, you're talking about powdery mildew all over your microgreens.
Well, there's other mildew and other sorts of fungus that you can get to, like the trichoderma fungus can sometimes start mold. Too much heat and moisture.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was growing some there and had them going all the time, and I had to shut them down for a bit, and I'm going to be getting them going again this winter. So
good. Yeah, they're great, especially
quick and easy harvest.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and tasty.
That's what the lettuce bowl is great too, because you can grow lettuce under like LED, those crappy LED lights that I got all winter long. Because lettuce is a quick grow. You snip it off, it can reseed itself. But lettuce bowls, the best thing all year round.
Yeah, you can also use it as a cover crop on, and it's kind of gives you your first sign of bugs as well. So let's say if you're growing a plant that generally, like a pepper plant or a cannabis plant, something that has a fairly open bottom, so that or if you're pulling your tomato plant up and out of the way so that they can get light, they don't need much light at all. That will allow you to you kind of start getting into kind of companion gardening. Some types like beans and peas, some of them kind of help enrich the nitrogen in the soil just by being there. But they're also the first place that bugs will go. If you're worried about bugs, you'll see them there first, and then you can kind of deal with it, yank them, or you can harvest.
My trick is for that, I grow rosemary around everything. Like I've got this great big rosemary bush, and I will take this little snippets of the rosemary and stick it straight into the dirt around my tomato plants, and then around the cucumber plants too, because it keeps the bugs off. Because rosemary is like a natural deterrent for everything, including deer.
Yes. Oh, deer. Interesting. Oh, good. That's good to know.
Oh, just in case, good, because there's something between my plants.
That's why I've got a whole. The deer were coming in my carport, right? They were jumping my thing. As soon as I put I just put a color barrier, but I put a great big hanging basket of rosemary right there. They will not even come into the entrance of my carport anymore.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice.
I don't like the smell of it.
You need them on your deck so they don't come in your back.
And a lot of peppermint. My yard is encompassed with peppermint, and I'm just going to keep planting it everywhere. They haven't touched my hostas this year because it's encompassed with catnip.
Nice.
They don't like catnip either.
Yeah.
But my cats do.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
My cats are out there nibble, but it's around my hosta so that the fucking deer couldn't eat my hosta down to nothing this year. Maybe it'll flower.
So, Pierre, have you had a customer that has come in to combine the cannabis and microgreen stuff? Do you know of anybody? I know Tamara does. The microgreens cannabis.
I don't. I'm curious.
Okay,
so, yeah,
well,
I'm curious as how they get it that small.
Tamara, we have a
Okay,
friend
so it's not
here.
a matter of being like a microgreen. It's about it being like a bean sprout. Like, like your bean sprouts, like you buy, like, so it's like a matter of growing it to it's like between 10 and 14 days from the from the second leaf. So it's about yay big, and that's when you pull it and eat it. So it's not like a
I see.
microgreen. It's like a bean sprout, like
Okay.
a micro, like a
Yeah.
sprout, like
Yeah,
like you eat on your sandwiches.
baby cannabis versus I thought it was like a variety that just grew really small or really
No,
Oh,
no.
You can get these
And
baby
and apparently they're finding that the same compounds in hemp also is also beneficial too. But
Yeah,
it's the non-alkalinity of it. So because then you've got to be on a keto diet too. Like if you're doing because it's beneficial for her because she's on a low or high keto diet because she's got epilepsy in a rare form, and the combination of the high alkaline and the sprout itself because of the timing between the day 10 and 14, that's what the sweet spot is for her. Now it might be different for somebody else.
yeah,
It might be completely not effective for everybody. Like, I mean, it's like everything else when it comes to cannabis, right? But for her, she's finding it that things are like she doesn't even have now a doctor's appointment now for a year, and she used to have one every 3 months.
Yeah, I had an interview with Dr. Courtney, and during the interview with Dr. Courtney, I talked about this patient, but I didn't mention any names. And then I got a message, and I was told, "It's okay, Al. You can mention our names." And it turns out that Dr. Courtney is one of the doctors that looks after this patient, and that's Haley, Cheryl and Haley Rose.
And that's the doctor that's helping facilitate these studies with Cheryl and Haley, right? So Dr. Courtney has been, and Dr. Paul Hornsby, rest his soul, was the first doctor that ever gave Haley her prescription signature, and she's the only patient he ever signed. But he was instrumental in Legacy 420. He was around for in Saskatchewan with Tim when he first started growing for patients too. Dr. Hornsby's been around for a while.
He helped develop a nasal spray for Haley.
For Haley, yeah.
But they do the microgreen thing, and as Tamara says, it's worked really good. But obviously, the amount of seeds.
It's been a challenge because they need for the prescription themselves, because the seed is still considered a plant. The prescription that she needs is for 10,000 plants a month. And trying to facilitate that through Health Canada has been extremely difficult. I'm not sure they're quite there yet, but she's got a lawyer.
Would fresh
I know they're working on it.
Work like new growth if you had, let's say, you really ultra topped a plant?
So
you had 64 tops, and then you
No, it's because of the alkalinity, right? So once it's gone into bud, it's already past that that alkaline level that is needed. And it's got something to do with the non-alkalinity in the plant, because once it's past a point, it's gone past veg and into cone, or gone into bud and flower, the alkalinity and the pH in the plant changes.
And you were saying that.
You're talking microgreens of cannabis. So you're talking like 1 or 2 sets of leaves, and it's coming down for harvest.
Yeah.
14 days.
It's not creating a plant.
14 days.
Harvest.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could emulate it with new growth, if new growth was the same.
No.
Yeah. Like on veg, I was thinking not flower, just keeping the thing in veg and just having fresh growth, lots of tops.
It would be nice if it would do that, but, as we know, a clone is a replication of.
And here's the thing, too. It's been like they've been through juicing. They've been through every other line of, you can name it, caps, inhalations, no sprays, you name it, Cheryl's done it. Cheryl has worked for the last 20 years keeping her daughter alive, and this is what the sweet spot's been, is these microgreens. And I don't even know if you call them microgreens, call them sprouts, cannabis sprouts. And that's why she's always saying, eat your greens, because that has been the ticket for Haley. Again, it might not be specific for everybody. They might want to have, different levels. It's all been an experiment. Cheryl's actually going to school and working in a lab and trying to get the specifics so that it's passed as a food source, a nutrient, rather than a cannabis on the CDSA, right? So rather than like a herb, rather than than on the CDSA, because it hasn't reached the point where there's any THC in it at all.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
And because of that, right? And
Yeah,
there's more
it's-
CBD and CBCs than there is even CBDs in it. So again, with the science, but the science has to be there, right? And it has to be on a different level when it comes to food source. It's harder to pass something as a food product than it is to pass something as a cannabis product, to be fair.
Right.
And that's where she's at. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. So you, I guess, yeah, you don't know me, but yeah, I've never tried it myself. Yeah, who knows?
I planted some hemp seeds when I got home on Friday. I have a whole container of them, like a big one, and I just threw them in with the watercress that's growing in with my rosemary to see what happens. So it's been, well, that was Friday. It's now Wednesday. We'll see if those sprout or those seeds sprout for me.
Yeah.
They went right into dirt. So the last 4 too, they went right into dirt. And then oh my God, what is this telling me? It's beeping on my phone. I got a red flashing.
Oh,
flashing red screen.
You got a storm warning going on out there?
Well, it's been, the power's been cutting in and out. The Wi-Fi's been cutting in and out. It was sitting on my I'm sitting on my data right now. I got no Wi-Fi right now. My TV's out.
Okay, so we've talked cannabis, we've talked microgreens, we've talked mushrooms. Do you have many customers that people still? I'm going to go this way first, and that is, I know people still to this day who don't like to walk into a hydroponic store. Because of the cannabis thing, right?
Yeah, the stigma still exists. We're thankfully there's more people getting curious. Oh, what is this place? And they're a little cautious, and then they'll try it out. And then they'll tell their friends and say, oh, it's not just about cannabis. They got house plants, they got amendments, and then they'll talk to us and find out about all these things about what works and what doesn't work for everything from pest control to amending different plants in different ways, organically or otherwise. We tend to focus a lot on the organic side of things, even though
you bring in bugs and stuff. Like, do you bring in ladybugs and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we do. We try to, like, ladybugs have been hard to get the last 2 months, so we're hopeful that they'll be available again next week in July. We've been told, but we can get other sorts of everything from beneficial mites to lacewings to even praying mantis.
Praying mantises, yeah.
I tried that one. I tried that one.
Yeah.
Unless you've got them, unless you're there, the minute that they hatch, they will kill each other. They have to. Oh my God, what a nightmare! I ended up with one.
Oh wow, yeah, that's usually how there's one per plant if you're lucky. Do a pretty good job.
If they eat each
other,
didn't
get that, and then it died anyway. It fucked off, or it moved out. I don't know. It didn't. It was outside. It was here. Then it was gone.
There was nobody left to eat. They ate all his. He starved it up.
Yeah.
He was in he has
will a bug kill off?
Well, the thing about spring is like it come in a pod, right? Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I said some people have asked me would bugs eliminate their food source?
100%. That's a good question.
Yeah,
they can, but then in our experience we've used a mixture. So we've had success where we've gotten rid of pests, and we've had tons and tons of ladybugs that continue to survive. And so what I think is that there are other bugs that aren't necessarily living off our plants, but are just around. Again, we've got 1800s house, that limestone foundation, etc. We don't have a screen on the front door, so that can be an issue sometimes. And so
I swear out mosquitoes at night sometimes.
So but I have heard that there have been
aphids.
People,
they're the worst thing ever.
And that for whatever reason, some folks have experienced that, basically their ladybugs die off or leave, but the problem is still there. Being aphids being one, because they replicate so fast. Spider mites, another one, really, really fast replicators every 3 days.
The Virginia creeper. And that thing,
especially if it's warm,
collect aphids. I spray that thing. I do everything. I've bought ladybugs. By the end of August, it's yellow because they've killed it.
Oh wow!
And it's just that I can't get rid of the aphids and I can't get rid of the creeper.
Have you tried Ferminator? It's a fermented alcohol. What the plant does, it absorbs it. It's a natural, it's organic, so the plant absorbs it, and basically it disrupts the digestive systems of the bugs that eat the plant because it's got the alcohol.
So does it go in the dirt then? You like do you like
you
or do you
spray the
spray it?
plant, so it's you have to spray it like every week as a preventative, and if you've got a problem, you're starting like every day for a week, and then every second day, and then every fourth day, and then once a week.
No, I've never tried that stuff. We'll have to talk after the show. But that sounds like something I need.
There's other solutions that work the same way. The key is breaking the cycle of the egg laying, because they can sometimes the eggs can just not hatch. They can lay dormant, and then 6 weeks later, boom, you got a problem again. So having a preventative weekly regimen is.
Like I said, this Virginia creeper's been here forever, and I can't. And I've been spraying it for 10 years. I've been trying to do everything for 10 years, and then it gets onto my rose bush.
Lost Coast Plant Protector or similar essential oil based foliar sprays work well.
I tried neem and it didn't touch them.
Yeah, neem has limited. You need the soap with it, and you just need to keep applying it. The ones that there's multiple ones. Lost Coast being one of the most famous. There's Gardenia Shamrock. There's multiple other ones. It's basically a mixture, typically of peppermint oil, rosemary oil, castile soap, and other alcohols and whatnot. Generally fermented alcohols, and so the plant absorbs them, and the bugs hate the peppermint. Going back to the peppermint and the oils, the rosemary, both of those tend to work really well.
Oh, yeah. I always found the best prevention is don't bring anybody into your room, like as far as your new plants from someplace else when you haven't quarantined them or anything
quarantine.
like
we have a quarantine because we bring in new house plants all the time. We even have them at the store now, so we have a regiment there that we have to do. And sometimes it's hard to keep up with because we're so busy trying to remember, but it's a calendar thing. And some people think mites and cannabis, but you can go to the store and pick up just a little rose plant and bring it home.
And baby roses, those mini,
yeah.
Or
your herbs. We did that once, not even thinking. Cilantro from Metro, the live ones. Covered in spider mites.
Oh no!
It ruined our last year's pre-grows. Like we just didn't get it right away, and went through all of our lettuce, all our corn, like anything in that region.
Yeah.
We just threw everything out.
Yeah, those mini roses seem to be prone to them too. Like every time I get a mini rose from, it doesn't matter whether I buy it from a greenhouse, whether I buy it from Safeway, whether I buy it from Canadian Tire, I bring it home and then bitches are full of spider mites.
Grounding them first too really works. Keeping them, the plant can survive a half hour in the water. The live bugs can't. The eggs can though, so it's still the eggs you got to wait. And then keep it in another room, like keep it in our cold room. We'll spray it with some Dr. Doom initially, and then we'll basically use the peppermint-based foliar sprays for about a week or two, and then we'll bring it into the house, and that seems to be working.
I have so much peppermint growing in my yard. I'm sure I could make some spray with it.
And like you say, you have to keep on things because of the cycle. The leaves may not, the eggs may not be killed. The live part might be dead, but as far as the eggs, they may survive, and then they're going to hatch, right? So you got to.
Because you'll be having cool temperatures, and it gets hot, and then it gets cool, and it's like a cycle. Like mites don't like it cool. Like you can have spider mites sitting dormant in your dirt until you hit above 70 plus degrees. As soon as you hit 73 degrees, some bitches are everywhere too, right?
Yeah.
When they hit that sweet spot at 73 degrees, boom, you're covered.
Yeah.
Keep it below that, they never hatch, right?
Yeah, those ones like dry. Others like wet. It's
the gnats.
Yeah.
Fungus gnats, they can be annoying too. Peroxide generally kind of works pretty good. There's root drenches, again, rosemary based, other types of root drenches.
I like diatomaceous earth. I like diatomaceous earth for them because that stuff's natural, and you can just like rub it through your even your house plants or anything. It's not going to hurt anything else but them, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just crustacean. So diatomaceous earth is something I really like. That's something I use.
And there's folks that will spray it as well. They'll use that as a foliar spray.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's natural too. It won't hurt any other animal. But it's good for gnats and it's good for crustacean, right? So anything that has to crawl through it because it's a crustacean, it just tears them apart.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Pierre. I see we're at the bottom of the hour. We've been going for 90 minutes now. Anything else that you would like to touch on?
Again, it's a pleasure to be just a part of this business and to be working with you guys, to be on the show. Thank you very much. I didn't ask you about you. I should have. Is there anything new that you guys can highlight in 30 seconds or less about this?
We just got to keep on doing the educating and the educating.
That's right. And keep growing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Hey, keep growing. Don't rely on just going to the store all the time. It's nice to be able to grow your own cannabis, do the whole experience.
Grow your own food.
Yes.
Never mind cannabis. Grow your own food.
If you can grow cannabis, you'll be able to grow your own food. And as you mentioned earlier, there's companions. So why not? If you've got yourself a grow tent, you got a little room, why not grow some vegetables in there or some microgreens or something, right?
Exactly.
Tomatoes. Keep your tomatoes away from your cannabis because tomatoes and cannabis do not go together. That always brings bugs to your cannabis.
Oh, does it? Oh, I don't know.
Anytime we put tomatoes and cannabis together, we ended up with bugs on our cannabis. I just not recommend it. That's from my experience.
Lots of space.
Our only problem is with tomatoes is that the deer like to eat them.
Well, no, the tomatoes got brought into a garage where the cannabis were.
Oh, yeah.
And they were from outside, and then they brought the bugs inside because somebody was very brave.
Good. Okay, nothing else offhand, Pierre?
I think that's it.
Yeah, okay.
We're happy to serve everybody that comes.
All right. Now, if the post office gets rolling again and things get back to normal, you mentioned at the beginning of the show about a little reduction in your shipping stuff because of
and it's actually hasn't been Canada Post specifically. It's been other third-party carriers that I think have taken on the load. But in particular, it's just been once it goes outside of Canada, it's like we lose track of where it is.
Yeah.
And we've had a higher than comfortable percentage of fails in the last year since the tariffs.
But domestically, you're not having any issues, right? Within Canada, everything's fine.
In Canada, it's been fine. Yeah. So
fine, great. So if someone lives in Newfoundland or lives in British Columbia, they're more than welcome to go to your website and place some orders, and you'll get them to them. I know the commercial talks about local delivery, but obviously with mail, you can go much further than local. So
we're national. Yeah, we were international, and we will be again. We just need to figure out what's been happening there. But yeah, absolutely happy to take anyone's order, and we try to ship as quick. Well, we ship as quickly as possible. I will caveat: next day shipping means that the carrier will pick it up the next day. But if we're closed and you gave us an order after we're closed, we're going to put it in the system in the morning, but they may not pick it up until the next day after that. So keep that in mind, please.
Okay. All right. Where can people find you?
That if you're in Western Canada, there's time changes. So when you order at 5 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock out there, so they're already closed.
Oh yes, Eastern. Yeah, Eastern time.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
So we are, sometimes I feel like a 24/7 operation. So we're checking emails at nights and stuff anyway. So you may get it faster.
Okay, website.
www.limestonecityhydroponics.ca or .ca we prefer.
.ca.
It's a long URL, but it's unambiguous.
Yes, and you've got the 420 and the phone number too.
We do, yes. 548-0420, area code 613.
And you're local in Kingston, Ontario, right?
Kingston, Ontario, right off the 401 on the corner of Montreal Street and Sutherland Drive.
Yeah.
And they deliver locally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. We have our own line of nutrients made by Easy Grow, but it's licensed by them, and we are proud of it. It's really great line.
Okay,
awesome.
Super. All right.
Thanks for being our sponsor. We sure appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, man. Thanks for being involved. Really appreciate it. Other than that, everybody, thanks to our sponsors. I always tell people. Thanks to our sponsors. And I always tell them who our sponsors are. And that is Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, At-Eze.ca, as well as Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. And also, big thank you to Pierre for coming on to the program tonight, and to my joint host, Tamara. Plus, thank you to you, our viewers and our listeners, for tuning into the program. Other than that, good night. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Let's share PACE everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education. You're listening to the PACE Radio Network here at paceradio.net.